Hi guys, I'm Welcome to Prediction Week 1. We are back. The summer and the summer transfer window has concluded, and now we are back to the business. Let's just recap. Last season, obviously Manchester City winning the title. Liverpool very, very, very unlucky not to win it, but they did go on to win the Champions League. Not a second bad prize if you ask me. Arsenal had Unai Emery's first season in charge. I don't think he did too badly considering he wasn't backed by the board last season. Got ourselves fifth, 11 points better off than what we did with Arsene Wenger the year before. And obviously got ourselves to Europa League final where everything just completely went wrong in the second half. So that leads us to this season where I think Arsenal have been backed by the board. And I'll get into that a little bit later on when we get to the Arsenal game. But talking about Liverpool, because it's Liverpool versus Norwich today at 8 o'clock. Not a lot of goals are going to go in this weekend, obviously because it's the first weekend back. You don't really... A lot of these games this week are going to be boring and, people still finding their feet, teams still gelling, your new transfers still gelling. But hopefully I'm proved wrong and we have an entertaining weekend. But let's start with Liverpool versus Norwich then. Obviously, Liverpool will want to do better than they did last season. Hopefully, they want to win the title this season. And they go up against Norwich today. And that's at Anfield. No disrespect to Norwich, but I'm going to go for a comfortable win for Liverpool. I'm going to go Liverpool 2, Norwich 0. At 12:30 tomorrow, we have West Ham versus Manchester City. Now, again, you could say, West Ham could possibly get a point. It's the first game of the season. They are at home. But I still think that Manchester City will be far too strong for them. And obviously, the same as Liverpool, Manchester City will want to go off to a good start so they can retain their title. I'm going to go West Ham 0, Manchester City 2. Now, this is an interesting one. We now have Crystal Palace versus Everton. And obviously, we know a couple of days ago, Everton put a bid in for Wilfried Zaha. So the main question for this week is for everybody is, will Wilfried Zaha play in this game tomorrow? I don't think he should. I don't think he's going to be in the right mindset. Yes, you have to be professional about these things, but let's look at it in Zaha's point of view. He's probably gutted, disappointed that he didn't get his move. He's stuck at Crystal Palace for at least another year. So I think, and because the transfer deadline day was only just yesterday, I think that he should have another week off, just to get that all out of his mindset, and it also could play a part on the dressing room as well. Imagine what his teammates could be thinking. Well, hang on a minute, mate, you were dying to get out dying to get out the door, and now you think you're going to walk straight back into the team. So things like that can happen as well. So for me, Wilfried Zaha doesn't play tomorrow. Obviously, on the other hand, Everton brought Alex Iwobi. I think it was for 40 million in the end. So he could make his debut tomorrow. I'm going to go for a tight, tough game in this one. I'm going to go Crystal Palace 1, Everton 1. And just speaking about Everton, I think with some of the signings that they've brought this season, they could also be challenging for top 4 this year. I think it's going to be really, really difficult this year. I think you can put Liverpool and Manchester City out of everything else. So they've got their own little competition, their own little league, and then it's from like 3rd to 6th. It's going to be a mad season. I'm more for it, to be fair. I'm more for that. I like to have end-to-end games. I like to have twist turns and this, that, the other. It's always boring when like a season's finished at like March, February, something like that. So let's have a tight, tough season, eh? Let's bring everything to the last game of the season. No, not quite that tight, but around maybe the end of April. Let's have everyone in their positions by the end of April. That'll do. We then have Burnley versus Southampton. I think Burnley have just brought Danny Drinkwater on loan. Again, I don't think he can play tomorrow. So again, I'm going to go for a tight, tough game in this one. I'm going to go Burnley 1, Southampton 1. We then have Watford versus Brighton. Obviously, Watford has made a good signing, free of charge as well. Danny Welbeck. I think that'll be a good signing for Danny Welbeck. I think he did well at Sunderland. He didn't fit in well at Manchester United. He hasn't really worked out for him at Arsenal, but I think that he can be successful at Watford like he was at Sunderland. I think he bagged something like 14, 15, something like that goals at Sunderland a couple of years back, which, let's be fair, at their level, that's pretty good going. But it's just not good enough for the teams like Manchester United and Arsenal, who are looking to like get into the top four and winning titles. So for me, that's a good move for Danny Welbeck and a good move for Watford. And also with Troy Deeney up there as well. Imagine Troy Deeney and Welbeck up front. Again, Watford could be up there this year. I'm not saying top four, but they could be around that seventh, sixth market. Who knows? For the game, I'm going to go Watford 2, Brighton 0. We then have Bournemouth versus Sheffield United. Obviously, Sheffield United just been promoted. I forgot to mention that about Norwich as well, just been promoted. So it'd be hard for that's a nasty way to start your season, isn't it? Going to Liverpool away. Sheffield United, Bournemouth. Yeah, again, I'm going to go for a tight game. I'm going to go Bournemouth 1, Sheffield United 1. At 5:30, we have Tottenham versus Villa. Again, Villa being promoted. Not a very nice start, to your Premier League journey. After 3 seasons, I think it is, out of the Premier League. Again, I think Villa can cause a couple of problems, but I think that Spurs will win. I don't think that Villa are going to be a walkover this year. Out of all the teams that have come up out of Sheffield United, Norwich, and Villa, I think Villa will be the one, to look out for. I think they could have a season like Wolves had last season. Some of the signings that they've brought in. I'm going to go Tottenham 2, Aston Villa 1. On to Sunday's fixtures at 2 o'clock. We have Leicester versus Wolves. Now, I know I just said, that we don't have many goals in the first week of the season, but everyone knows, if you've been following this channel for 4 years, everyone knows that when it comes to Leicester's, your Wolves, and that, I always go for crazy scorelines, and they're both meeting this weekend. I'm going to go for a crazy scoreline. I'm going to go Leicester 2, Wolves 2. I've got to get it in somewhere, so one of them two. The other 2 o'clock kickoff is Newcastle versus Arsenal. Excuse me. Again, Arsenal have brought a lot of players in. William Saliba, he can't play this season. I don't think Martinelli will feature much in the Premier League. I think he might have a couple of FA Cup games and Europa League games, maybe the odd League Cup here and there, but I don't think that he'll feature in the Premier League. Ceballos, I think he can come into the squad tomorrow. I don't think David Luiz will come into the squad tomorrow because, again, that was deadline day yesterday. He hasn't he hasn't trained with Arsenal yet. So yeah, I wouldn't throw him in straight into the mix straight away. So if all our signings that we brought in the summer were playing tomorrow, I'd be highly confident. But the fact that we're going into tomorrow's game with practically the same team that we had last season, because Kieran Tierney can't play, he's injured at the moment. I don't think Pepe will start. I don't think Lacazette's fit. So it's starting to make me think, oh God, here we go again. Not a very good start to the season. I still think with what we've got, I know it's going to come to bite me on the arse, I know it will, but I still think what we've got is good enough to beat Newcastle just about. So I'm going to go Newcastle 0, Arsenal 1. Again, that's going to come back to bite me on the arse, like I've said, because it always does. But I do think Arsenal have just about got enough. Had we had all our signings playing tomorrow, I would have been more than confident. No disrespect to Newcastle, but I do think I would have been more than confident. But the fact that we're going with practically last season's squad against Newcastle and that, it's worrying a little bit. And at 4:30 we have Manchester United versus Chelsea. Again, no one's going to go all guns blazing out in this game. I'm just going to go for a tight draw. I'm going to go Manchester United 1, Chelsea 1. So that has been my predictions for the first week back. In terms of where I think people will finish, I think Manchester City will finish top. I think Liverpool will finish second. As I said, them two are in their own little league. I still think Manchester City are stronger. So I think Manchester City retains. I think with the signings that Arsenal have brought in, I think that's good enough to get us third, at least into the top four. But I think that Arsenal will finish third. I think Tottenham will finish fourth. I think let's be fair, it's hard for us to say as Arsenal fans, but they have got a good squad. And obviously they've built to that as well. So I think that they'll go fourth. I think Manchester United will go fifth. The signings of Harry Maguire and Wan-Bissaka. They didn't bring any attackers in though, so I'm not sure where their goals are going to come from. Because Lukaku's now gone. He wasn't really knocking them in for him either. So I'm not sure where their goals are coming from, Manchester United. But I do think Manchester United will finish fifth. And Chelsea sixth. Had a transfer ban, couldn't really bring anyone in. Frank Lampard's first season in charge as well, which could always be difficult. So that's my top 6 for this season. Comment in the comment section below what you think your top 6 will be. I don't really like to do relegations just yet. I like for a couple of games to start, so I can have a bit of a better idea. For the lower oppositions. A couple of shout outs as well to be watching this season. First we have Lee Gunner, who now let me get this right. He's going to all the home games this season of Arsenal. So I think that's FA Cups, all the Premier League games, Europa League, blah blah blah. And on all the away games, I think again including FA Cups and the rest Premier League, he's going to be doing a watch along on his YouTube channel with Chris. I think it's Chris. There might be other guests on there as well. But doing watch along for all the away games. So if you don't fancy listening to Talk Sport talking shit about Arsenal, go and watch Lee Gunner. Probably be better commentary anyway. So there's a shout out for Lee Gunner. We have hairdryer treatments. I think it's called Richard's Ramble from Sophie. She covers Manchester United, their transfers and who's going where, this, that, the other. Quite a good watch actually. Did one yesterday about the transfer, or the lack of transfers for Manchester United. I was quite surprised with Manchester United actually. They didn't actually, apart from defenders, which yes they did need to strengthen in defence, but they needed more attackers more than anything, and they just went out and bought 2 defenders. I don't know much about Daniel James, to be fair. But yeah, I just, as I said, I struggle to see where the goals are going to come from Manchester United this season. But again, if you're a Manchester United fan, you might be able to tell me differently. But as far as I'm concerned, I think they're in really, really big trouble. I don't think they'll finish 9th like some people are saying. I think that's a bit crazy, but I do think that they will struggle, and they need to start spending money. I know Arsenal's done some good business. This window, but we've had it for years as well. Where we needed to start spending. So maybe Manchester United need to do the same thing, like asking the board, we care, do you, and this, that, you'll start protesting. Otherwise, nothing's ever going to change, is it? So a couple of shouts outs there. Oh, and also to Much Arsenal as well. I can't forget Colin. Much Arsenal. Now that's the guy to go to if you don't want any bullshit. He'll just cut straight to the point. And he'll tell you if you're good enough, he'll tell you that, and if you're shit, he'll tell you that as well. Get the fuck out of my club. So that's Colin for you, my bro. So a couple of shouts out there for people. That's my predictions for this weekend, and until then, I will see you next week. Yeah, next week. And until then, hope everyone gets all the results they want, unless if you're Newcastle or Tottenham. And I will see you next week. Thank you for watching, guys.